to order. There's a quorum present. All the court members are present. All legal notices have been duly posted, and the court is duly called. Is there a motion to open court?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Bailiff will please open court.
All rise. The Dallas County Commissioners Court is now in session for November 2012 term. The Honorable Judge Jenkins presiding. Please remain standing for the invocation.
And our invocation today will be given by a guest of Commissioner Price.
Judge, Commissioners, this morning we're very pleased to have with us Dr. Marcus King. King will come forward. Senior pastor of Johnson Chapel Community Church located in the beautiful city of DeSoto. He's been there since 2008. He went to that church. He was a 47-member church. It was battled in bankruptcy, had a declining membership. 2.5 years. The Lord's favor. Dr. King has now grown that church to almost 2,500 individuals. The church slogan is a central place for discipleship. He has basically taken that church and has a new program called Fed Up. Fed Up is a program wherein they feed families up to 90 days without any questions. They give them groceries, they give them counsel, they do resume evaluation, they write, they do the whole work. And so I just want to thank Dr. King for continuing to be a part of that community. For over the last 18 years in his ministry, he is still growing. He's a former 8th grade English teacher. He earned a Master of Christian Education degree from Fort Worth and a Bachelor of English from Christian Ministry from Sam Houston State in Huntsville. Also, he's been a member at Dallas Baptist University, and there's no greater person. He's authored a number of books called Thirsty Thursdays, Volume 1, Thursdays Determination, and a number of other books. He's a native of Terrell, Texas, which is a suburb of Forney, which is the largest, according to the last census, the largest city in Coffman County now, Forney. So I'm glad he's here, and I believe I've had plenty of opportunities to interface with him. Thank you, Dr. King, for being a little
Jackrabbit Tiger.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Price, for making us a suburb. To Judge Jenkins and our wonderful commissioners and those who are here, let us bow for a word of prayer on this morning. God, we come humble this morning, recognizing we don't deserve to be alive. But since you've blessed us to be alive, we want to make sure that we show our thanks by saying thank you for this day. God, we come here today because there are decisions that must be made. Decisions on this bench, decisions in this audience. We ask right now that we all recognize you have a will, that every person here today connects with your will, even if it's not pleasing to our feelings. May it be the right decision that's made. Maybe made out of love, maybe made out of a focus on vision for the greater good. We pray right now for those who are leading. We pray for those who are in this county. We pray for those in this world. In Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.
Thank you, Doctor.
Today we will hear resolutions, consider formal agenda, deliver a briefing session, hear from 2 registered speakers, and finally we'll convene in our closed session as allowed by the law. We have 4 resolutions today. The first one this morning is from Commissioner Price.
Judge, I would ask the family of Amy Trotter Esparza, please come forward along with Mr. Brother. As you know, on last week, we went to what in the African American community we call the celebration and transition for Amy Esparza. She had been with us almost 25 years in Dallas County, and we celebrated her life last week in Governor, Texas. But in her make ready for transition, she asked that this be done, and we honor that today. And so it says to the family, whereas the Dallas County Commissioners Court rightfully and with great honor takes special notice when an individual is given long and faithful service to Dallas County. Whereas Amy Trotter Esparza was born in Dublin, Texas, attended Dublin High School, and matriculated at Carleton State University. And whereas Amy was married to Rick Esparza, and she had one son, Benjamin, and she balanced her personal and professional lives well. And whereas Amy commenced her committed service to Dallas County with a career on July 13, 1987, in the Dallas County Auditor's Office as a Clerk 1, and was later promoted to Clerk 3 on the basis of her hard work and merit. And whereas Amy transferred to the District Attorney's Office in May of 1991, where she served in several capacities with increasing responsibilities to include the positions of Legal Secretary, Personnel Coordinator, and Human Resources Generalist 1. And whereas Amy served Dallas County continuously and diligently for 25 years and earned the full respect and admiration of her superiors, her peers, and this court. Now therefore be it resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court does hereby recognize and extend sincere appreciation that Amy Trotter Esparza for the 25 years of faithful service, and be it further resolved that the level of dedication, dutifulness, and the engaging demeanor she demonstrated through her life provide a constant reminder of what excellence in service means as we offer our solemn condolences to the family upon the news of her eternal transition.
And I say.
All those in favor? Aye. Just carried unanimously.
I would like to thank the Commissioners Court, County Judge, and Commissioners on this honor. Amy worked for me for the last 4 years. The last year and a half were especially difficult because she was going to the doctor on a frequent basis, but she never let on how much she was in pain. She was a consummate professional. She was my right hand, and I will miss her terribly. We have a tremendous hole to fill. I would like to introduce her husband, Rick Esparza, and with Rick is an investigator in our office and his best friend, Carla Spaniel.
Thank you, Mr. Price. Amy was not just a dedicated employee for the county, but she was also a wonderful mother and a loving wife, and she will be missed dearly. So it's a privilege and an honor to accept this on her behalf. She's a beautiful person, and I was fortunate enough to be married to her the last 11 years of her life. So I'm thankful for that and thankful for everyone here. Thank you.
Well, hopefully the resolution conveyed our heartfelt thoughts about Amy. As the resolution said, sometimes in life, we leave here a little early by our timetable. But in the great divine, everything else will be okay. And condolences to you and your family.
If we may, since her son was unable to attend today, can we get a picture for him? Three of us behind the
Thank you, Judge, colleagues, members of the audience. One of the greatest things about being a public servant is you get to know a lot of fantastic people that make a difference every single day in young people's lives. And one of those persons that I have the honor of working and knowing through many years, not only as the president of my neighborhood association, but also as a great educator, is Ms. Agustin Tino Hanumo, which is here with us. Mr. Hanumo, would you please come forward? Because we have a resolution for a group that I really love and have here many times over the years, but the Dallas Symphony Orchestra Young Strings program is their 20th anniversary. And you know you're having fun when you're celebrating 20 years of having a program that really has come to fruition for young people. And the resolution reads as follows. Whereas the Young Strings Programs was created in 1992 by the Dallas Symphony Orchestra musicians Wade Shemley and Miriam Davis to discover, develop, and promote the musical talents of outstanding African American and Latino strings instruments students in the city of Dallas. And whereas, since that time, Young Strings has grown from serving 8 students to serving approximately 200 students each year, and has earned national recognition and awards from the National Endowment for the Arts, the President's Committee on the Arts and the Humanities, the Texas Commission on the Arts, and other very prestigious organizations. And whereas the Young Strings program has demonstrated significant success in developing the musical talent of promising young African American and Latino string instrument players in Dallas, providing its students with the resources and the skills necessary to pursue professional music careers, and is now beginning to achieve its long-term goal of seeing professional musicians reflect the diversity that defines and strengthens our community. And whereas the Dallas Symphony Orchestra has affirmed its commitment to the continued success of Young Strings and its mission on this celebration of their 20th anniversary. And whereas Dallas County resolves that the Young Strings programs of the Symphony Orchestra is an invaluable resource for furthering the musical learning and careers of our city's most promising African American and Latino string musicians. Now therefore be resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court commends and supports the ongoing efforts of the Dallas Symphony Orchestra with Young Strings as it continues its ongoing mission of discovering, developing, and promoting the musical talents of outstanding young students in the city of Dallas and in Dallas County. And I'm very proud of
Second.
Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Hill.
Thank you. Judge Jenkins, County Commissioners, Dr. Elba Garcia. On behalf of the Dallas Symphony Orchestra, one of the largest nonprofit arts organizations in the region, we want to thank you for your public support today, for your ongoing support of the Dallas Symphony Orchestra, and on this, the 20th anniversary of Young Strings, which, as Dr. Garcia said, is a program intended to focus on the education of Latino and African American students to pursue a vocation or an avocation in stringed instruments. So we're very proud of this, and we look forward to our continued success in this education endeavor. We look forward to seeing you at the Dallas Symphony Orchestra, all those here in the room and on the bench, and as we seek to diversify the orchestral landscape on and off the stage. We thank you very much for this honor.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. It's always a pleasure to see you as well.
Well, the last two resolutions today are for me, and were sponsored by me. And I'd like to ask Tracy Little, Carmen Kennedy, and all those who've served their country, who are veterans, who'd like to come forward, to come forward. I note that it was one of the goals of this court to expand our veterans services department last year about making Yolanda here a full-time employee and looking for more and more ways to work with other agencies and the private sector to help the transition of our troops as they come home. And I was pleased to see this week that USAA has ranked Dallas, the Dallas area, and therefore Dallas County, as the third most hospitable place and best place for veterans to reintegrate back into American society after serving our country abroad. So I was very pleased by that. And today we have a special person with us who I'll be reading the resolution for. And that special person is special in her own right and symbolizes those who have come back from serving their country. And that person is Carmen Kennedy. And so I read, the first resolution is for Carmen Kennedy, and it reads as follows. Whereas today we reflect upon the invaluable contributions of our country's veterans and reaffirm our commitment to provide them and their families with the essential support they were promised and have earned. And whereas, as a grateful nation, it is our task to ease their transition to civilian life, to ensure our returning heroes can share in the opportunities they have given. So, freedoms we cherish endure because of their service and sacrifice. Our country must strive to honor our veterans by fulfilling our responsibilities to them and upholding the sacred trust we share with those who have served. Whereas caring for our veterans is more than a way of thanking them for their service, it is an obligation to our fellow citizens who have risked their lives to defend our freedom. This selflessness binds our faiths with theirs, and recognizing those who are willing to give their full measure of devotion for us is a debt of honor for every American. Whereas we must reaffirm our promise that when our troops finish their tours of duty, they come home to an America that gives them the benefits they have earned, the care they deserve, and the fullest opportunities to keep their families strong and our country moving forward. And whereas we recognize the selfless service and dedication of Carmen Kennedy, the United States Marine Corps, who honorably served her country and who represents the service members of Dallas County who have faced adversity after leaving active duty service, but despite obstacles have prevailed. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court has hereby recognized the outstanding contributions and sacrifices of all those brave men and women who served in American armed forces, and urge all citizens of Dallas County to show their appreciation for those who continue to serve. And I so move.
I second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And Tracy, would you like to introduce and tell us a little bit about Carmen, and then Carmen, if you'd like to say a few words.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Commissioners. And thanks to all who came out to celebrate with us this past Veterans Day. CJ, as we call her, came to our office with a list of needs. And unlike, any other veteran that comes back from active duty, but what she did that stuck in our minds was she came and she was adamant about getting a house. CJ, due to circumstances, had to come to Dallas with her 4 children. She's a single mom. And she had no housing, she had no job, she had just nothing. And so she came to our office and she said she wasn't leaving until we got her a home. Well, of course, although we do put people in connection with other agencies that can provide other services that we don't specifically provide, we remembered CJ. So when I got a call from Austin, in which they were looking to give a home away to a veteran, to a needy veteran, CJ was the person that I remembered. And so we submitted CJ's name. She was accepted, and she received her home last week, Wednesday, and that was a wonderful event. So we're still continuing to work on some other needs that she has, but CJ is representative of other veterans who are coming back who have needs, and they're going to need the help of the community to help them get to where they need to be. So thank you for the opportunity this morning, and I'll let CJ say a few words about her situation. Thank you.
What is on your heart, CJ?
Well, first, thank you, and I just want to defer honor to all of you for allowing us to be here and for myself to be here. It is such a privilege, and it's really humbling, so thank you for allowing me to be here, first of all. Second, just to say a little bit about the situation, granted, I know it was mentioned that I'm a veteran Marine, And so we do have some tenacity kind of ingrained in us just a little bit. So, making the transition for my family to kind of start over was uppermost in priority for me, because I wanted to give my children and myself an opportunity to grow from our circumstances, despite what they look like. And one of the biggest obstacles I think that I've had to face, just as a veteran, but as a single mom, is to make the transition from military service into civilian life. And it's a really, really stark transition. I think if I intend anything, I will that I'm able to create a momentum and to kind of help bridge the gap between the active duty service members and the civilian life. I think that every service member deserves the opportunity to be honored and recognized for their service, no matter what it is. That you have me here is really humbling, because I can be anyone, and granted I'm here and I made the sacrifice I made, but there are others who died, or who lost limbs, or who've lost limbs in their service. And so I will that I'm able to honor them with my choices and my actions to go forward. It is my goal to finish school and get a degree and all the rest of the great things in occupational therapy, so I can do service for Marines and stuff like that, maybe in the hospital or something. But I hope that I'm able to express avidly my desire to see all veterans receive the kind of services that they need to help bridge them over from their life, where in active duty you have everything provided, and in the civilian sector it's like nothing. And then you have to weed through all the other services to try to get what you need. And it's really, really a challenge. And so I hope and intend that Dallas County, that has embraced me and welcomed me so much and done such great things, and so I'm really glad to be here, and I can't wait for everybody to kind of get going, that we're able to make headway for other veterans to be able to get going in their own lives and transition. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Congratulations, CJ. I'm so proud that you have your home, and I just look forward to hearing about your progress as you integrate into civilian life.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I appreciate that.
I think the hallmark for you this Veterans Day is the fact that in Dallas, at the Flight Museum, just dedicated for the Tuskegee Airmen, who also were servicemen who fought. But as Colonel Spann said when he returned and he went to Brandon, become a pilot, he was told that all they had for him was a job description for him. I don't know how far we've really come, CJ. I appreciate you and all of y'all for your service. But unfortunately, some of those ghosts still prevail. And you are fortunate. And I just hope you always keep that in the forefront, up for the grace of God.
Thank you. We also have one other resolution, also sponsored by me, and that will be our traditional resolution honoring Veterans Day. So everybody just stay right there. Whereas Congress has provided that November 11th of each year shall be set aside as a legal public holiday to honor our nation's veterans in recognition of the contributions our service members have made to the cause of peace and freedom around the world. Whereas we pay tribute to those men and women who have served our country with honor and distinction. Whereas their sacrifices have helped secure more than 2 centuries of American progress. Their legacy affirms that there is no challenge we cannot overcome. And whereas 2012 marked the 200th anniversary of the War of 1812, we commemorated the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. We welcome back troops home from Iraq, and we continue to wind down operations in Afghanistan. And whereas our men and women in uniform have taught us about strength, duty, devotion, resolve, cornerstones of a commitment to protect and defend that has kept our country safe for over 200 years. In war and peace, their service has been selfless, and their accomplishments have been extraordinary. Whereas on Veterans Day, we continue to honor the heroes we've lost, and we rededicate ourselves to the next generation of veterans by supporting them as they return home. A grateful nation must keep the solemn promises to these brave men and women and their families. Whereas it is encouraged that all citizens of Dallas County recognize the valor and sacrifices of our veterans and pay tribute to them by attending scheduled events to commemorate them. Now therefore be it resolved, the Dallas County Commissioners Court does hereby recognize the outstanding contributions and sacrifices of all those brave men and women who served in the American Armed Forces, and urge all citizens of Dallas County to show their appreciation for those who continue to serve. And I so move.
And I second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
I was just trying to remind who was the first to die in the war. Some guy named Christmas.
And I reminded him that I am Ron Burgundy. I read what's on the piece of paper. We will now consider item 8, the consent agenda. The motion on the consent. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll now consider items 9 through 32. The supplemental thing that you brought me, that's on the briefer, right? Okay, we'll now consider items 9 through 32. Is there a motion on the court order?
Pull court order 18. I said earlier, pull court order 18.
Pull number 18.
Okay, so the motion is 9 through 32, pulling 18.
Correct.
All right. Is there any discussion on anything but 18?
Okay, court order 22. Did y'all get my email, my 4 o'clock email on that? Okay. We're gonna get some resolution.
We pulled the logs on those. We're going to some inspectors go back and look at those, and also looking at the possibility of extending some cleaning services in some of the sites. We'll get you a report on next week.
Well, these are some of the same people who have had the contract.
Right.
Okay. And so, what kind of commentary are we getting in regards to this contract and performance?
Commissioner, for this particular one that's located in the northeast and west portions of the county, we're actually, your informational agenda had some information where we did have some concerns that were raised with the one in the eastern section. They were delineated, but they had all been addressed. And so that's why we're recommending moving forward. The facilities is recommending moving forward with this extension. The other two that are listed in here had very good records of service in the north and the west area. As Darrell said, we have pulled the logs, facilities has pulled the logs for September, October, and November. And actually the logs do not show any reports for our outlying areas with questions that are specifically related to janitorial services. We'll go back and go through those in more detail and have some, as Darrell said, have some inspectors go out there to see what we're getting. But right now, with that one exception that was noted, where all problems have been addressed, we're ready to move forward with these for the northwest and east.
One of those sites also has a day porter, so we'll make sure that day porter is actually doing the job. If they're not,
In our southern section, we have 2 of our southern courthouses who share the local work.
Well, when we get that kind of call early in the morning, and I know during election, we had to dispatch some people working. Same way, like I said, over the juvenile department. When you go in, when you got constituents in there at 9 o'clock in the morning, not in the evening, and they complain. We got some issues.
And it's the same, for what I understand, and the commissioner is the same contractor that we have with the tanks in the past?
So, yes.
Henry Wade is and JJP are a different contractor than the contractors that are included in this order.
Right. He's been, okay. On 24, I guess Marshall Doe Sanchez, did he sign off on that?
Yes, sir, yes.
Because I tried to tell him I could get it. And 29 on the right of interest, Ms. Well, thank you. Thank you very much for staying on top of it.
We'll get to 18 separately, but as to 9 to 32, any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of Court Order 9 to 32, pulling 18. Takes us to Court Order 18, which is being briefed and sought an order on the same day. Mr. Martin, you want to take us, whoever, you want to take us to the briefing?
The briefing just requires court's authority to create the H position, which will be sent over to the district attorney's or in the district attorney's office to continue the constitutional version initiative program.
But the briefing, there is no briefing. There's one page. There's no briefing with regards to this matter. So, somebody want to take me through the briefing with regards to what has been historical? Because I've got some other information. I'm just trying to figure out. I mean, maybe the rest of the court has it, but where's the briefing with regards to this matter?
The briefing was created by myself, I wrote it correctly. It is for one page because it is creating a position for the DA's office to continue to operate the PDI program. The PDI program was originally created in Commissioner Dickey's office, and with the pending changes in that district, there was a need to make some
Excuse
adjustments.
me, but it was originally created by the Dallas City Council and the DPD. I only became involved in it a few years ago when I saw that the courts, that women were coming into the jail and they were just a revolving door and there was no treatment for them. And that's when I got interested in this City of Dallas initiative. And of course, the DA's office and Dallas County Sheriff's Department have played an active role in it. So I simply gave one of my positions, which I had been given as a commissioner, to work exclusively on that initiative because it needed somebody full-time to keep it coordinated.
And as Commissioner Dickey stated, that is correct.
Again, well, with programs, as we talk about programs, well, what are the metrics? So a 5-year program. This program has been around for 5 years. Well, what have the numbers been like? I read the last report. And according to the last report, it's a diversion program. I've been also on, out there with this program, so I'm aware of it. I'm trying to figure out, first of all, how do you, in the court order, put in the authorization for a grade H? It's number one. Number two, have you looked at the numbers with regards to this? Explain these numbers to me, and maybe you haven't seen this report. Explain these numbers to me.
Let me start with the court order. The court order talks about an H because for costing purposes, I always have to make a recommendation or an anticipation of what the grade would be. Clearly, like all positions in Dallas County, once created, it will go to the HR department. They will do a review of the work that person performed, including a variety of things, and we'll classify it, and that then goes back to the Civil Service Commission for the final approval. And of course, there's always debate, or can be debate along the way. So as for the purposes of the court order, it does state an H because that is the existing grade of the individual who will be performing the activity. As for the statistics, yes, I do have information as it relates to the 4-year program plus the annual reports for the first 3 years of the program. For the 4 years, it did have contact with 728 prostitutes, with 262 of them choosing to do treatment, which represents 36%. 324 or 45% chose to go to jail versus treatment. Another 140 declined treatment but were written citations because it was a Class C misdemeanor that they were being charged with. And then there was about 2 that are missing. So on average, that's approximately 65 to 68 a year that are actually going into treatment.
And when you extrapolate those numbers, 65 a year going into treatment, the diversion rate in the jail, when you look at the numbers, even if you appoint them an attorney, it's $100 a day and average of 2 days in terms of diversion. So what does that cost out to be?
The costing is where in a misdemeanor case, it's about $90 for a court-appointed attorney, assuming that there's not a public defender assigned to it. And then you have about $50 a day per jail day, so that is another $100. So it's about $200. If you then assume that they're in there for 2 days, that's $400. You times that by the 67, that gets you to about $15,000 in diversion.
And Ryan
Now,
also,
there could be that some of them are in jail longer periods of time, but generally those aren't the ones that are in this program, because if you're
Exactly.
charged with a state jail felony, you're probably not qualified for that. In addition, some of them are going to be in jail for a variety of other charges that they may have had as well, so it is difficult to extrapolate the exact jail time. But generally, in this type of an offense, you can assume between 2 and 4 days.
Okay, so, and according to the report that I read, they're running about anywhere from a 36 to a 42% recidivism. So that's a one-time, at $15,000 is basically a one-time diversion cost.
Ryan, I think that 40% of the women who complete the program, we don't hear from again. They're not recidivists. Also, there are quite a few women who actually turn themselves in. They're not arrested for a misdemeanor or a felony. They simply want to change their lives. And without this program, of course, that wouldn't be possible. And you didn't mention that 70% of the women who we have treated are African American.
Clearly, you're correct with your statistics as well. If you were to try to sit there and say, we need to create this position because of the cost savings, I believe where Commissioner Price was trying to go is you're not going to get there. It's going to be very difficult to show $76,000 worth of costs that you defer out that you're not going to have. As for the changing of the lives of women who complete the program, it's absolutely there as well, because you do have 13 people who completed the program in the year of FY10. And for those 13 people, it is an invaluable program to have been part of. And so I think really at the end of the day, this has to be a decision on, is this a worthwhile social program that has a cost, but it is not a huge cost to continue to do, because I don't think you're going to get there on a pure statistical cost savings basis.
Well, you also,
The purpose of diversion, I think you interrupted. The purpose of diversion is to show that we are diverting costs for the most part. I don't care what program. How many diversion programs do we have around Dallas?
We have approximately 12 running out of the court systems, plus a variety of others that you're going to find in the DA's office, in the juvenile department, and the sheriff's department.
Okay. And in those programs, bottom line is we traditionally deal with those programs based on their cost effectiveness. Is that correct?
In a true diversion program, yes. And I think that this particular program kind of crosses over from a true diversion to a social program. Because remember, we also provide a variety of programming to individuals who are in our jail.
Right.
That have no diversion or cost saving, but we choose to say that it's beneficial to provide them educational services, job training services, other social-related services.
Mental health services fall under diversion, right? That's some mental health programs that are diversion.
We do have some mental health diversion programs,
Okay.
exactly.
And in mental health, we have case managers, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, tell me how, with 15 or 20 individuals, this doesn't fall into a case manager position number one.
I anticipate that when Maddie gets a hold of the position and reviews the job duties that are outlined that they're currently doing, plus whatever job duties the DA adds, which do it, that she will probably determine that it's somewhere in a case manager or a senior case manager, which makes it a C or an F in a classification purposes. But once again, that's really going to be something Maddie hasn't had a chance to look at yet, because until the position is created, we don't actually fill out the job questionnaires and to do that. So I anticipate she will have that, and I anticipate that we'll work with the particular individuals in this program and make sure it fits consistently with all of our positions as we do on a regular basis when we go to civil service.
Ryan, have you ever attended this program?
I have not attended the program.
Well, what I'm hearing is quite a bit of your opinion and perhaps not too much direct knowledge of the program. But when you give the opinion that this is not a diversion program, and that's your opinion. You mentioned 2010. We have served, since the inception of this program, 856 women who have gone through the program. We also, you didn't mention, but we have established the last couple of years a John program because we don't feel that this is just a women's crime. We also feel that there has to be a man involved in this. And so to date, we have over $30,000 in revenue from this John program to pay for the cost. And I noticed that you didn't bring that up. And of course, this program, which only started last year, is continually growing and is continually bringing in more revenue. So you left that out, and I wanted to be sure that it's included. And it's very important to think of, now you can't put a price on 856 lives. You can't put a price on that 40% of these women we don't hear from again. But I can tell you that when I was a commissioner, when I was first a commissioner, and I looked at those women going through the jail, and they were there like a revolving door. And yes, there are art courses and various training courses in the jail. However, these women weren't there long enough to take a meaningful course. Most of them were there for a night. They were let out. They were there the next night or two, and it was just a revolving door. So clearly, we had to have a program on the outside of the jail to deal with them, because these women, almost 100%, 99%, had either substance abuse and or mental health problems. Well, you can't take care of that in a jail program. And these are difficult problems to deal with. Some of these women had come from, their mothers had been prostitutes, and these women had children, so it was really a multifaceted thing that we've done. So I really commend the DA in that he saw the importance of this program. He saw that it was very important for us to go in and to intervene in their lives to help them down a different path. Nothing's 100%, but 40% is pretty good. And he saw the wisdom in that. And also, the fact is that it belongs under the DA's office, because it's the DA's office that runs the John program, that has the Pride Court, that has both the misdemeanor and the felony court. So I want to thank Craig Watkins for his thoughtfulness and his wide-ranging vision in seeing that this continues as a partnership with the Dallas Police Department.
This program has been around since 2007, according to their report, correct?
Correct.
Where has the program been in terms of all of these now needed attendees? Where has the program been?
The original program was kind of housed with Homeward Bound. That's where the individual who was running the program, with complete assistance from the city of Dallas and other entities. There has been a broad ranging of corporate and governmental sponsors towards this program.
So it was Homeward Bound.
That's where it originally was.
Where it originally was. And that's what the program has been on. And with Dallas County, other than providing support through law enforcement and through Judge Hoffman's court, in terms of creating a portal, what else has Dallas County provided?
The primary support of Dallas County as it relates for the prostitute and diversion program has been related to providing a funding source for the coordinator. The misdemeanor and the felony courts, those are initiatives that are actually done by the judges. In the case of Judge Hoffman's Pride Court, we actually have grant funding that provides funding for that. Obviously, the city of Dallas also finds funding within their own budget to divert resources for this program, but that's generally where it's been. There has been dialogue here as it relates to the John program, and that's really been a program income that is part of the income that is related to the program.
Can you tell me that money has come into Dallas County?
I would need to go back and look specifically. It probably stayed with the 501(c)(3).
Okay,
But
so
they've been
like-
using that program income to provide various incentives to the individuals and the participants in the program, plus they've been using some of that to pay for the
But I don't want the record, so the record be clear, the money did not come into Dallas County. The money was said a few minutes ago, it would come into the DA's office. That is not correct.
I don't believe that to be the case. I would need to check with Virginia to make sure that there wasn't an escrow set up, but I didn't get a chance to ask her before, and I don't imagine at this point she knows the answer. But I would imagine that that money is actually stayed in the 501(c) because we have not seen the expenditures come from that.
Would you care for me to comment on that?
Care to, yes.
Since I know a little bit about this court, we have Judge Romario and Judge Hoffman. One is the misdemeanor court, one's the felony court. And these judges have a program for these women that come through, and they usually graduate 5, maybe 6 women in their program, a 6-week program. And what these women report every Monday, they work together, they bond, they learn good behavior, they report to the judge, they do projects together. And this is the program that they actually graduate from. Then the 501(c)(3), which has a bank account dedicated and run by a board, uses some of those monies for graduation. They give a little award. They have refreshments. They have their family members. These women have really accomplished something to have been the lowest prostitutes, that some of them even have we had one that came in not long ago out of Parkland Hospital, and she had to earn her living on her back. She had a tracheotomy tube out of her throat. These are just people that are desperate. And that money, before we had the 501(c)(3), which is a tax for a nonprofit, tax exemption for a nonprofit, we use the Sheriff's Bridge program, which is a nonprofit. Through the help of several prominent lawyers in Dallas, we got a 501(c)(3). It took about a year, and that was in order to have, and that's the 501(c)(3) for this program. And as far as Dallas County's participation, not only does Dallas County have 2 courts and the complete cooperation of our DA, without whom we could not have done it, but Dallas County also, the Sheriff's Department, has done yeoman's work in setting up the operation. So the one Wednesday a month, or the one day a month that we have the operation, it's unique in that it goes out into the community, into the Dallas community, and sets up. And it's the Dallas Sheriff's Department that actually sets the equipment up. They have a trailer there for health services. They have a trailer there for a judge, a community court judge that adjudicates some of the cases. They have all kinds of social services that come in there to treat the women, because these women have many, many multiple problems. We have CPS there on the grounds to help these women, because many of them have children. Without this program, it would not, these women wouldn't get any service. And many of them aren't going to know who to call in Dallas County for services, but they know about the PDI because it's well established, and everyone in that community knows about it. And if they want help, they know they don't have to just be arrested, but they can just walk in and say, "Can you help me?" And we've had some women that started on that track, and some of the officers, both in the Sheriff's Department and in the Police Department, have actually presided over some, or been part of some weddings, and some women that have gone on to a regular life. We have women who have been prostitutes, who have completed the program successfully, who have married, have children, and who come to that program every single month so they can mentor women who are in the same situation that they were in at some time. So I really appreciate you bringing it up, Brian, and your attempt to understand it. It's when you haven't been associated with it for years, you don't know all the ins and outs. But again, the Sheriff's Department has done yeoman's work, and I think the most important thing that this community needs to know is that we have worked together seamlessly. It is so wonderful to see the City of Dallas, the DPD, the social work community And in Dallas County, working together so well, there's not anybody jostling over who gets the credit. We all have the same focus, which is to help more and more of these women. Thank you.
Let me back up again. The John program, the money goes into a bar.
I believe what we just heard is that money goes into the 503(c), which is not.
501c3, but it was stated earlier that it was under district attorney's office. Now, based on that, is it anticipated that somehow that, you know, we're not saying that the county is getting ready to pick up this 501c3, excuse me. I mean, since the money is being paid, there's another portal that has been created. Tell me, all of a sudden, since the sponsors, anyway, since the sponsors are paying into a program, now what happens? What's anticipated with that fold, since they're paying into the program, accordingly to that. By the way, you know, there's been a number of us out there. I think Mr. Martin, you've been there, midnight, Mr. Thompson, or you were there at the truck stops at the BLJ precinct. You know, it's no one member of this court. I mean, we've all been there, so that's not new. That has nothing to do with the facts. What now is going to happen with the dollars associated with the 501c3?
It's been mentioned to me that the 501c3 would be transitioned to the district attorney's office. I have not seen or talked to the district attorney about that, but it has been mentioned to me that that was the intention. That would be separate wholly, because that has a separate board, and they would have to make a determination of how they want to operate and what they're going to do. That isn't a decision that the court would make, because it's not a commissioner of court 501c3.
It's a PDI, or a
And so
501c3.
that would be a decision that board would have to decide if they want to transition to the DA's office.
So people who are sponsors who get directed into this 501c3, are they court ordered into it?
I don't think that Commissioner Price may have an understanding of this IRS tax exempt situation, so perhaps you could help educate him about that.
I do not know how they make a determination to make a donation to the 501c3. I don't know if there's a court order. My guess is there is not.
No, we receive donations from churches, individuals. We just had an anonymous individual who sent us $1,000. We go around and speak to different groups. We have a particular church in Duncanville that has sent us money on a regular basis, as well as volunteers in the program. They usually bring food, and a lot of these women are hungry, and so we always have food for them that are on the program. They also get money.
Understood. Was the record, was there anything, did they get ordered to pay into the 501c3, the sponsors?
I'm not familiar where the sponsor is, because it's not a Dallas County 501(c), so it's not books that I'm looking at, it's not expenditures I'm looking at, so I cannot tell you specifically where the money comes in there. I just knew that it existed. I knew there was donations, because periodically I do hear of them using some of those funds. I do not know about the John program as specific in regards to.
And I think your question was how.
I don't know what sponsors, I don't know what he's referring to, but the 501c3 is, of course, the requirement is that it be reported to the IRS every year.
But if someone wants to donate to a 501c3, and I want someone to give to the PDI, you know, I just tell them, go ahead and write it to the 501c3 PDI, and that's it, right?
That becomes a tax deductible.
We've been led to believe that the so-called, they're calling them Johns, I'm calling them sponsors.
I think that's your
You
question.
call them Lions or whatever else you call them. My point is, at the end of the day, you know, how do those individuals present wind up having to participate in a 501c3? Is that by court order? Or they just volunteer, say, you know what, I think I'll go to the 501c3 and participate and donate my $200, $500, whatever the cost is to be associated with it. So that's what I'm asking.
And it's an answer I cannot give you because I do not know.
There are expenses incurred by the program. The John program is something that we modeled after the DA's office in Nashville, Tennessee. We all went to Nashville. We talked to the DA's office there. We observed the program. And what they do is get professionals who teach these jobs. And many of them think they have paid for a service and therefore they haven't done anything wrong. But the woman is in jail and they don't learn about what they're doing. So this program includes professionals. It includes obviously a location, probably a lunch because it's about a day long on Saturday. And then the woman, the men learn about STDs thanks to people from the health department. Dallas County Health Department has been one of the big anchors in this program. Someone from the health department, an expert, comes and talks to them about STDs and transferable disease. They talk about mental health, about sex addiction. They also get a woman, this program will have a woman who's been a prostitute, and she comes up and says, hey, that's what I did, and let me tell you, I'm a person with feelings. I'm not just a vagina for wit. I'm a person. And I think that many of the Johns have never really realized that this is an individual with feelings, and rather than just something to pay for. And so a lot of this education has gone into it, and we have had almost no recidivism because these are first-time offenders. They've been caught. It can be taken off of their record if they complete the program. And it's real interesting that most of them really don't want their wives or their employers to know that they have this on their record, and they're thrilled when they can go to the program, have it blocked from their record, and they learn something. So it's a win-win for everyone. And as far as donating to the 501c3, the Commissioner's Court recently gave a 4% raise to everyone in Dallas County. I have dedicated my 4% to go to the PDI, the Prostitute Diversion Program. And I've worked it out, so from that lump sum, when I receive it for those months before I retire, are going to be given to the PDI, because that's how strongly I feel about this program.
Should maybe have a check. You know, this says 60% recidivate. A big pardon?
That's true.
Okay. I just heard no recidivate.
No, that's what she said. She said that
60%.
I said 40% of the people that complete the program do not come back.
No, that's, again, that's not what you want.
you're saying the same thing.
You're saying the same thing.
40% don't come back, 60% do. You're saying the same thing.
You're saying the same thing. Let me just intersect here, because we can be here all day arguing in every single direction. I understand what Commissioner Price, and thank you, Mr. Brown, for the briefing. I understand what Commissioner Price is saying. It's probably not a program that saved money to the county at 60% recidivity. But let me tell you about the program, and I think that's what Commissioner Pickett has been trying to say. It's a program that has a lot of partnerships. I was the chair of public safety in 2007, and I remember the former late James Fantor complaining about it every single day in the truck stops in District 8. Prostitution, all the neighborhoods complaining about it, all the prostitution that was taking place in his district. And he was the one who pretty much started this. Gosh, I want to say he wanted to start it since Manuel Johnson was the city attorney. However, it just got implemented in 2007. Thanks to the commissioners that were, the council members that were complaining about it. And this is a partnership program. You know, when you have Nexus, when you have Hamburg, when you have other programs working together, to increase the quality of life of the residents that live around those areas. It's hard to deny a program when you know that it has a value. It has value when you know that turns around the lives of hundreds of women that otherwise will be exploited by prostitution. It makes a difference when you have people helping people. And while I understand that, HR might change the classification, I still support the program because it's a program that makes a difference in the quality of life of the citizens of Dallas and women that otherwise will not have an opportunity to live a life of prostitution. And yes, we're probably going to lose around $15,000 a year in the diversion program, but we will make it up.
Every social service program you got, that's the genesis of the social service program.
Well, there's a lot of social service
Okay.
that do not make money, just like libraries don't make money, just like parks don't make money, but they signify quality of life for the citizens.
Commissioner Cantrell?
I'll just say, I think Commissioner Price is correct that economically, this program, it would not stand on its own. But during my tenure in CJAP, and I know Commissioner Garcia has seen that as well, one of the problems that the Dallas Police Department did have was with prostitutes. And that also was an issue on the Public Health Advisory Committee back when I was on that also. What this program does do, it provides that nexus relationship with the police department that gives them just another tool to have some place to put these women, to place these women without putting them into our jails. What I'm interested in is seeing if this program can be institutionalized in the DA's office, and with that collaboration of the sheriff as well as the two courts that we have, and the things that Ron Sturgeon does through the homelessness effort, to see if once it is institutionalized, what type of impact it will have, not just with the women, but also with regards to the dollars that we're looking at, as well as the outcomes, including our jail. So that's why I'm going to be supporting it today.
And with that,
I want to thank the DA's office as well as Commissioner Dickey. I think this is a program worthwhile, and we all have our resolutions. It's a worthy program. And I agree with Commissioner Dickey. We need to look at those numbers and continue to do this work. Is the right thing to do?
if no further discussion, I'll call the question.
Well, we have to move the program.
And I second that motion.
That was a motion. You moved, and it was Cantrell moved, Dickey second, correct? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? 4. You're abstaining? Okay. We have 4 in favor and 1 member not voting. All right, and that takes us to our briefing session, which consists of, before we get to the briefing session, guys, I've scratched my ass, so you're all very boring to me. I'm going to go see a doctor when this is over. If you see me blinking at you, from that. But I think I see, it's a secret conspiracy for me to blink on me. I think I see Teresa Daniel over there. Is that true? Is that Teresa? Okay, that is Teresa Daniel. And Commissioner-elect Daniel, of course, was elected as our new commissioner on January 1 for Precinct 1. And we welcome you to our meetings and let's try to move the other direction.
We did, that's what we did. We did the other direction.
I hear you.
It's okay, Commissioner Cantrell.
Thank you for being with us here today.
Yeah, we're taking care of it.
Our agenda now calls for the briefing session, which consists of items to be considered in the subsequent session. Mr. Martin, could you take us through that?
One Judge Commissioners, item 1 is Employee of the Month award winners. I would ask them to stand if they are here. From the Auditor's Office, we have Rashida Smith. From Health and Human Services, we have Aurelia Rodriguez. From Human Resources, we have Ms. Helen Taylor. From Juvenile, Mr. Byron Thompson. The Tax Office, Ms. Paulina Ramirez. From Truancy, Ms. Brenda Kirk. From the IT, we have the probate team, including Dane Din, Michelle Wilson, Kim Thomas, Kathleen Norton, Perla Yalavarthi, and Kim Brown. If they're here, would they please stand? We thank them for a wonderful job they do for Dallas County.
And you know, Mr. Martin, I mean, it's so good to see all those employees here that, get, employee of the month. I would love to see more of them coming because, let's face it, I know they're working, but let's face it, most of the time, a lot of them go without a thanks, for many years. And
I
it's good
agree.
It's good to see them. Thank you, ladies, and congratulations to all and gentlemen. Yes, I should say ladies, but I just saw ladies today, but I would like to see some of the gentlemen too. It is, okay. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. And I hope that next month we see more. Commissioner Price knows everybody. I'm still getting to know people, and I can't see all the way to the back. Probably the lighting, but anyway.
I agree, Commissioner. We'll encourage the department to make sure that the folks, when the award comes,
That they know,
that they
and we give them a round of applause.
Exactly.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Thank you.
Item 2, Health and Human Services, 2A, recommend approval of fiscal year 2013 Ryan White HWH Street Extension Act of 2009 Part B Formula Funds. Item 2B, recommend approval of fiscal year 2012 Ryan White HWH Street Extension Act of 2009 Part A Supplemental Contract Funds. Item 2C, recommend approval of fiscal year 2012 Ryan White HWH Street Extension Act of 2009 Part A Formula Contract Funds. Item D, recommend approval of fiscal year 2012 Ryan White HWH Street Extension Act of 2008 Part A Minority AIDS Initiative Contract Awards to Service Providers. Item 2E, recommend approval of revisions to the Ryan White Planning Council of the Dallas Area Bylaws presented in the briefing. And item 2F, recommend approval of fiscal year 2013 Department of State Health Services HIV Services Grant Awards to Service Providers listed in your briefing. Item 3, County Auditor. 3A, recommend approval of certification of the Chapter 59 audit for the Sheriff, Constable, and Clean Air Task Force. Item 3B, recommend approval of the certification of Federal Equitable Sharing Agreement with the District Attorney and Sheriff's Office. In addition, I have, you should have on your dais, additional Federal Equitable Sharing Agreement for all 4 constables' offices. That was, we neglected to include that, but that is included on your dais for approval and will be quoted next week. Item 4, Sheriff recommends approval of the use of a seized vehicle for law enforcement purposes. Item 5, Engineering and Project Management recommends approval of Phase 2 mobilization and implementation of the recommended energy conservation measures and continue with the Phase 3 investment grade audit. Item 6, Purchasing recommends approval of the service proposals submitted by HDR Architecture for additional design services, the establishment of a design contingency budget to address minor design issues, and approval hours for Hill International Contract to allow for ongoing project management services. I don't know, Commissioner, you had any questions on that?
No. We discussed it in sanitation, and Ms. Brown is part of today on it, so it is an appropriate service request for the jail.
We want to remind the court that we are committed to staying within the budget of the court, the overall project budget. We are still doing that. We're still working with our contingency. It is getting smaller. We recognize that. I do want to let you know that if we do find, we still have some issues that may add to the total construction budget, but I wanted to remind you of that. That may be if we move forward with some of the improvements that would be to the whole building.
Right.
We are still committed. That may be an issue where we came back and requested additional funds for the project, but only if it's something that's much larger in scope than anything we've committed to here. With a guaranteed maximum price, the goal is, again, that you all don't see anything for that construction contract, and if you do, you better have a really good reason why.
But there are some issues that are on the table that make sense. And we're waiting to vet those in such a way that we can make the presentation better to you.
We do want to remind folks that there will be major construction beginning at Frank Crowley Court's building. We will be sending out numerous reminders over the next 2.5 years. It will be at least that long, but we go through this construction process. So we will be sending out continual reminders about all the work that will be going on.
So we want to applaud the sheriff and
Don't look at me, I'll be gone.
Ms. Brown and her staff in terms of the way they're getting the process of managing, because it is a real cultural change in everything from the way people are accustomed to parking back there to the utilization of that building. And also it's going to occur at the same time, simultaneously, as we begin to deal with the garage. So we got this going on at the same time. We're going to be dealing with the garages
and elevators and escalators.
The escalators and the elevators, but that's all on the same campus. I'm talking about that parking, which we're restricting and pushing out. We're now going to have to deal with that parking garage fee. So staff is really spending a lot of time and energy to try to manage that issue.
Item 7, tax assessor collector recommend approval of contract with Barkenberg Automotive LLC to operate a dealer with motor sticker printing system for motor vehicle registration. Item 8, public works. 8A, recommends approval of work order 1 authorizing due with Czars Incorporated to provide preliminary design services for the East Dallas Bellaway. Item 8B, that quote is on the formal agenda. 8C, recommends adoption of proposal eviction protocol policy for handling occupied tax foreclosed properties. Item 8D, that quote is on the formal agenda. Item 9, Commissioners Court Administration. I need to hold that. I got a couple of other items I want to bring forward on that, but I want to hold that.
I got a quick question on the Bellaway and North Haven. Did we work out everything with the city of Dallas and good to go on the request for more money?
Yes, we're working closely with them on that. And this is for the TE, the enhancement program. We are working with them on
They
that.
agreed to put their request for the same things we're putting our request for?
Well, what they're going to do is provide support letters for that particular project.
But we have to do, what other support letters are they asking for? So that we're all asking for the same thing?
Well,
They're also asking for what's a trolley money or something?
I haven't gotten the full information from the City of Dallas, what they're going to be submitting on Friday, but right now we have their support on the projects that we'll be putting in on this Friday.
Okay.
Item 10, juvenile recommend approval of contracts for renewal of residential treatment services with organizations listed in your briefing. Item 11, budget, you have the conference travel training request under A. Item B, recommend approval of the organization of the Justice of the Peace Precinct 1 and 2. Item 11, that quarter will be discussed. And Judge, there are no questions of information on miscellaneous. That concludes your briefing agenda, and you have 2 speakers listed.
Well, Bill, please read the rules of the court for our speakers.
All Commissioners Court attendees are hereby advised that this meeting is conducted in accordance with the revision of the Dallas County Code, Section 74-71. Visitors and registered speakers are to preserve order and decorum at all times. Personal, profane, or slanderous remarks are not appropriate and will not be allowed at any time during the public meeting. Any and all applause to be kept brief in observance of time constraints. Disruptive visitors and or registered speakers may be removed and are subject to penalties provided in the State of Texas Penal Code, Sections 38.13, 42.01, and 42.05. Registered individual speakers are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, with maximum discussion on any one topic is limited to 30 minutes.
And our first speaker today is Mr. Gary Gilliam. Mr. Gary Gilliam. Mr. Gilliam, when you come forward to state your name and address for your deed. If you hear the second set of deeds, that's the conclusion of your 3-minute time period to finish. You have to stop talking to finish your sentence and once you hear the deeds. Thank you, sir.
I have some handouts. Can I produce?
Yes, so we give those to Daryl and, or to the man that's has his hand out there next to you in the gray suit. But I'll make sure that we get those.
Thank you for providing me this opportunity. My name is Gary Gilliam. I've been a resident of Dallas and Rockville County for over 20 years.
I work in a variety of different areas in the counties, and what I'd like to discuss today is a situation, a very contentious lawsuit that's involving myself and my wife. It started in Tarrant County, and it's forced us into bankruptcy in the Dallas bankruptcy court. This whole process, if you look at the handouts, I've got, actually the first two handouts are two docket sheets which basically describe the events that occurred during the lawsuits. I won't go through any of those. It would take too long for that, but basically we obtained a business line of credit through Frost Bank to buy restaurant equipment. We used that money to invest in a restaurant and club that my son owned, and he soon lost the club due to fraud soon after that. We continued making payments. We defaulted on the loan because they accelerated the loan and we couldn't continue with the payments. Frost sued us. We lost the suit even though we submitted uncontested affidavits. We reserved our rights as common citizens, and we were basically, we represented ourselves. We were forced to follow their rules, and they didn't abide by any of the reservation of rights or claims that we made against them violating our civil rights. In short order, they received a judgment, and if you look at the last page of the handout, you can see the kind of aggressive nature in which the attorney and the client handled the case. And I won't go into detail on that, but they were very, very hostile and very aggressive towards us, and inappropriate, and I think. I don't know of any other...
No, I'm talking to the constable.
Oh, okay. I don't know of any other way to achieve some help with this situation other than going through a court or a commission of this nature. I think what little I know, I believe you have the legislative control over some of these folks, and you might be able to help us. What I would really like to achieve is a hearing or a commission or a review of the actions that occurred in the Tarrant County Court that have affected us as common law-abiding citizens in this area. And that's basically all I have. If there are questions, I'd be happy to field them.
Let me just state for it, thank you for coming to speak with. We do not have, in our system of government, there are certain jurisdictions and certain checks and balances. We have no jurisdiction whatsoever over any Tarrant County courts. Over federal courts, I know you're in bankruptcy court, and we have no jurisdiction whatsoever over that, or Dallas courts. Or Dallas courts, right? The only jurisdiction or interplay that this court has is in its budgetary authority, and that is not to overrule or to review the decisions of the courts here. So the appellate courts for those various entities, for Tarrant County, it's the Fort Worth Court of Appeals, and for the bankruptcy court, it's the Fifth Court of Appeals in New Orleans, and for the Dallas County Court, it's the Dallas Court of Appeals. But it's not us. There's absolutely nothing in the law that we can do to address your concern. That's not what we do, but thank you for it.
What about inappropriate behavior by a constable?
I've given that to the individual who's elected, and he's reviewing it. He's an elected official, and so he'll review and investigate. That's his purview as well. We have no thought, but he has no.
Is there some other action I should take? Or is that?
Yeah, we can't give you legal advice as to actions, but as far as if you're unhappy with the employee or the treatment from the employee of the constable, the first person you should talk to would be the elected constable. But we don't have supervisory capacity over the elected constable. He is an independently elected official. Hopefully you can resolve your issue with him. And if not, someone else would have to give you the legal advice as to any else you have. It can't be us.
Thank you.
And our next and last speaker is Ms. Candace McAfee. Ms. Candace McAfee. Ms. McAfee, would you please take your name and address?
Candace McAfee, 5907 Copperwood Lane, Dallas, 75248. I'm here to complain about a missed opportunity for high school students to work with election clerks in the presidential election. I faxed completed Skyline student applications signed by parents and our principal, Mr. Wright, to Dallas County starting on the 2nd of October, just as I have done for years. But this year, instead of being appreciated and welcomed, I was talked to as if I had no clue about the election process or election laws. We waited and waited for news of my government students because I teach AP government assignments. Each call was as if I was talking to a recording. The person had lots of students from lots of schools, and we would hear as soon as they were placed at a polling location. The opportunity for my students to serve as election clerks, earn a little money, and participate in the election process up close and personal is immeasurable for them. I was told repeatedly they would be placed, and as many as possible would be placed, since there's so many students that wanted to work, so many people had signed up, more than ever before, and the attendance office would be faxed their names to prevent them from being marked absent. This never happened. As election day grew closer, I tried harder for satisfaction, even calling my county commissioner, Mike Cantrell. He tried to help me, but the brick wall remained. Finally, the day before election, I was told my students would be called on election day. My students live all over Dallas. They do not have personal transportation for the most part. To call them in the morning of the election and say, go to school or go work at a polling location, it's just too late. I said, I am sad because 80% of our students are on free and reduced lunch. And they missed out on working the presidential election, understanding the election process, and getting a little money for their cap and gown for Christmas, or maybe helping out their family. I hope you will do something so that this does not happen again. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, I was familiar with this as well. I'm asking Ms. Tony Pickett's pool to come forward because
She's here.
No, I want to come in with the director. It's not, yeah, no problem. She's okay. And what I wanted to do is because we had over, I think, 700 precincts. And then, Tony, you want to come on?
Well, Ms. McAfee, you've done this in the years past,
Correct.
and there's never been a problem.
Never been a problem.
Okay, they advised you well before the election day where your students would be situated. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay,
Laura
then-
Donato would send me a list of the people as she placed them.
Right. And this year, it didn't work that way. Okay, so, yeah, I'd like to hear why it didn't work that way also.
Well, we'll go ahead and Tony, I'll let you explain.
Tony, one question before you start.
Sure.
Did we pay for bilingual, for interpreters at any precinct?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, then I really need to understand because the majority of the students that she had to place were bilingual. So I'm not understanding why.
And we pay the students also.
I'm sorry?
We pay the students also.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
But are you paying, well, then
Y'all get
let
the
me
same
ask-
price.
I'm sorry?
Y'all get the same rate.
Okay. Well, so you're not paying the interpreter more than you're paying, you just slot them in as clerks?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
And
Let me
what is
just
the law for the?
Let me just explain about the student worker program. And she is correct that in the past, we have used Skyline students, and we open this up to a lot of schools. A lot of people have interest, a lot of schools, even private schools, public school, and homeschool students have applied. We had over 600 applications for this process. And I understand that I did talk to our coordinator, and about 26 of her students were placed.
How many?
Out of 80.
Okay.
I do have to say that there are restrictions to this program. This program only allows 2 students to be at a location, and it's at the will of the judges. We can't force these kids on the judges. The judges have to tell us if they agree to be at the location, if they want the students there. We had a lot of students that wanted to just be within a certain radius of their home because of transportation. So we had those kind of restrictions with our program. So I think there are
only 100, 700, some only 100.
only 100 judges agreed to
participate.
Participate. We can't force, or we can just ask them if they would like a student clerk, and that's what we did. We sent out letters to these judges and asked for them to confirm if they wanted students. A lot of the judges told us that they already had their students. So that was fine, and we told them when our training classes were. So, but out of our program, this is what we were able to place. We were able to place 131 of the kids because a lot of the kids, like I said, had restrictions. And this was the first time that we really expanded that program. Just a few schools knew about it, public schools knew about it. Like I said, we expanded that program to send out to, like I said, public, private, and homeschools. And we did receive a lot of applications from all 3 areas. And so we try to do the best that we can.
In other words, if you're going to expand it out, and you're going to increase that pool of applicants that you get, I would assume that you would have a process in place to be able to manage those.
Absolutely. And we get emails, we send out emails.
You're just saying that management does not happen if those 26 out of the 80, did you give them their location on the day of?
I don't think so. I would
Okay,
have to
so
check with my...
what is your process as far as notifying those students from whatever school on where they're going to locate?
We sent out an email. I understand we sent out an email. We also called the students.
Okay, how long before the election?
We were placing the students up until right before the election day.
How long before?
Several days before.
Okay.
I mean, this is, like I said, we have to wait for the judges. And sometimes if these students call us, and they'll call us and tell us that they can't work, they can't get a ride, they can't work, they can't get there before 7, or they have to leave before 7.
Have you had that problem with Skyline in the past?
No, we haven't.
Because I certainly haven't heard of any of those problems.
No.
So,
No, but we had over 72 schools ask for the same thing. They were sending them out to all of their classes. They were having their class just fill out documents. And some of the kids that we talked to...
But you also had a history. And I guess
Well, that's the same history you complained about.
No, that's not.
I know, but on voter registration day, when we were talking about it.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly why I'm making this argument.
No.
But let me go a step forward. We also heard complaints from judges. From you may have a Democratic judge appointed and an alternate Republican, or you may have let's just take that scenario where the judge did not contact your office after you sent out notices about them holding the election. There were alternate judges that were going to be moved up to be judges that never got the notice until the day of, the night before the day of. And my question is, how do they fill those spots for those individuals to be clerks?
Now, sometimes those judges, when they talk about the alternate, sometimes those are within 2 weeks or a week, or even a couple of days before appointments.
Right. Well, that's something I'd like to work with your office on, because that's not the feedback that I'm getting from out in the community. In those precincts where there was a Republican alternate judge and a Democratic judge, when those Democratic judges did not contact your office, the alternate judge was not automatically contacted and moved up. So,
Judges weren't automatically moved up.
I'm sorry.
Did you say that?
Once you get past a certain day timeline, yes, that alternate judge moves up to be the judge, and they select the clerks.
They select their clerks.
Okay, there's a problem, and that's I want to address that with you. In addition to this, I want to see the process that you have laid out, because to me, it's a problem. And you can't expect young kids to get their assignment on the day of the election.
And I don't believe that we would wait till the day of.
Well, no, that's exactly what
We would be.
I'm sorry.
I just can't see that the staff would wait till the day of unless there was an emergency. Because you have to have approval to come from, to be out of your school.
And see if any students did receive the day of.
Of course they did, because other kids didn't show up.
Well, Tony just said she did.
Well, I mean, if there's an emergency, it's just like judges and clerks.
I understand emergency.
When there's an emergency, and we have plenty of judges that ask for clerks at the last minute.
Well, when Ms. McAfee called my office, we contacted your office.
Absolutely.
You said you were going to give plenty of notice, and apparently that still didn't happen. So I'm trying to find out why.
I understand, in talking to my staff, I understand that they talked to her several times and sent emails to her several times.
So the question
and explained to her that we had a pool and we just couldn't assign just her school, all 80-something of her kids. We had to make sure that all other kids in other schools were able to have the same access to this program as she did.
Do you have a breakdown by school on the utilization of those kids?
We can do that.
Okay.
We're in the process of determining who actually did work by how they actually signed in with the judges.
But what I think that Commissioner Cantrell is asking is, do you look at the schools and say, well, this wouldn't be fair to give all these students. You said you can do it, but I didn't hear you say that you do it. You just said you could do it. So my question again is, did you look at Ms. McAfee's school, Skyline, and say, well, there are 80 students here that want it. We can't do that because these other schools, and you haven't broken down by schools, haven't had their people placed. Do you do it to that extent, or do you just look at names?
No, we look at schools. We try to accommodate all schools. There were 72 schools that we tried to accommodate, but there was only 100 of those judges who actually said yes. And some of those judges that did participate, they asked for some of the same students that they utilized in previous elections. So we were trying to open this up. We've never done this before, and we saw that it was a good program, and this is why we open it up. Like I said, not only to public schools, but also private and home schools.
Well, I appreciate the anecdotal information. I would like to know what your process is, and then if that judge doesn't respond, what your process is.
Well, I mean, it's volunteer. We can't place the students there.
And I understand, you can't make a judge do something, certainly.
Absolutely.
But that judge may not have been, something may have fallen through the cracks, and that judge didn't perform, and so the alternate judge moved up. Is there a process for the alternate judge to know about it? And do you have any fail-safe to see that they did receive it? They don't have to take a student, but to see that they did receive it, or you just kind of, okay, here y'all are, and maybe it gets lost in the emails.
Well, I'm going to have to find out if we send it to the alternate judge. But I know we put it in the judge's letters. So and normally, the judge's letter and the alternate judge's letters are similar. So I'm very certain that if those letters are the same. So if you move up, you should have the same information. But I would check on that and make sure. I think that's a process.
I would like to see what you said to the judge.
Okay.
And I'd like to see what the process is for an alternate judge. And I have one more question, and that is, Ms. McAfee, did you say that your students how many of them that you know were notified at the last minute of where their location would be, or their acceptance into the program?
One of my students got a call at 1 o'clock in the morning. Her mother didn't answer the phone. Another student got called, 2 of them or 3 got called at 6 o'clock in the morning. One of the students, because when they weren't being placed, I got 3 of them to work at my location, but one of them got another placement, so I ended up with 2. And when I let her go for lunch to go vote at where it was right across the street from her house, and she had driven 30 miles to be at my precinct, the judge said, I asked for 2 students, are you my student? And no students were sent to her at all. So I'm pretty sure if it happened in one location, it happened in others.
And Tony, I'm not in any way criticizing the fact that you've opened it up. That's what you heard us ask for last time.
Absolutely.
Regarding the voter registration, but I won't go there,
But you asked for it.
I did, yeah, I did. But what I want to see is,
And it's a program in process.
okay, I understand, and I want to see the process, and it sounds like, yeah, there's some kinks to work out, and we can do maybe a better job.
But Nate, the fundamental, you had 600 students that did applications.
Absolutely.
Okay, and you only had 100 judges. How many did you place?
Our department placed 136.
Okay.
And that's, I'd like to see.
Because we sent out, and like I say, we sent out information to these students, and they did not want to travel too far from their homes. So we're restricted by polling locations in the vicinity of where the kids live.
Sure. If I could just see what schools were involved.
Okay.
And where the student went to school and where they work, what precinct they work. That'd be great.
We'll get that for you.
Thank you.
And Tony, let me, this is a situation where I have tremendous respect and admiration for the job that you did in this election and the whole elections department, including those $10 an hour employees, some of whom are students, did in getting this election done without any incidents of long lines and problems that plagued other areas of our state and the United States. I am a huge fan and supporter of Skyline. Skyline students worked in my campaign in an unpaid capacity and in a paid capacity. And a Skyline student has had a desk in my office since the first day I got here, and there'll be a Skyline student in my office today. We got into a situation where when we opened this up, which ironically, as Commissioner Cantrell pointed out, was at Commissioner Cantrell's request that homeschools, private schools, all schools be given the same opportunities. There's nothing untoward about the fact, it's a good thing about Skyline. The Skyline has always had kind of the first shot at these because of the tremendous work that people like you and Martha Williams do with these kids, with these students. And these students, probably more so than any other students in Dallas County, are up on what's going on elections-wise and want to be involved for the candidates of their choice, or involved in the election, or involved in some way. But as we open these things up, there just may not be enough slots for all the applicants. I think one thing I'd suggest that we do, and I'll help in that, is we try to work with our elections judges to get more judges
Absolutely.
to take 2 kids.
Absolutely.
Take 2 students. I'm satisfied. I want you to get all that information to anybody who requested it, but I'm satisfied that it's unfortunate that people were called at 1 in the morning and 6 in the morning. That is not good. But I'm satisfied that as far as the, trying to be fair to all schools that have kids that applied, that y'all did that. And I again commend you on and everyone who works for the election.
But the Saturday before, we have over 700 precincts, is that correct?
Yes.
And the Saturday before, we had probably almost, right at almost 10% who hadn't picked up their supplies. Judges.
Right, and that's the process I want to look at.
Well, yeah, but we've always had, but we've always had that problem. No, it's just this time, because we had so many more precincts. It kind of exacerbated them, but with the
That's
process.
gonna be a problem, then we need to start early.
But they do start early, they're not required to pick those.
Yeah, when did you first notify the judges to pick up, when was the first day they could pick up their supplies?
That Saturday, on the 3rd.
So that's the earliest that you started, is that Saturday?
Yes, we have to wait till early voting in so we can process those reports in order for them to stamp their
Put
vote.
it in the box. And see, so that by 10 o'clock that night, folks are scrambling and say, hey, people picked up their boxes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so on Saturday, and I imagine that you have a log of those that picked up on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Right.
Correct? Okay, so did you start seeing any problems on Sunday with the number of those that didn't pick up their boxes on
Well, a
Sunday?
lot of the people told us they were out of town that weekend, they were picking up on Monday. Yes, we had contact with
The
them.
individuals that the parties put on and we appoint that you never even hear from.
Right. So that's a process, we really need to look at the appointment process and
It may even involve, after we make the appointment, that the two political parties contact those individuals and say, you better contact us and tell us you're going to do it, or we're going to put somebody else in.
But she's been working that forever. I'm trying to get the parties to do it.
absolutely.
Yeah, because we were getting this complaint, trying to get the parties to do it.
Well, probably as you look into the process, Mr. Principal, that's one of the big recommendations that we put in bold letters, for.
Well, when you appoint your people, make sure that they're gonna work the elections.
And one thing we may want to think of is the court has a 5-signature letter encouraging precinct judges to accept these kids and give these students that opportunity. It sounds like on a bipartisan basis, we all see the value of that. I tell you, the
I
value
think that would be a great,
young people as well is it's not the young people that misbehave in the polling place, it's the grown-ups. I noticed,
Amen, Judge.
in 2008, I was involved in a voter protection campaign for Canada, and I noticed that people behaved much better, even when there weren't lawyers around watching. You just had some kids in there. Adults behave better. I'm like, sure, back to the court. Yeah, we didn't invite because I've noticed that when you had students out there, the people was asking about it. I don't want you to leave here with a bad taste in your mouth about this, because Skyline is great, you're great, and those kids are great, and we want to keep that relationship going.
Thank you. I love that as well.
All right, that's our last speaker. So now it's time for some closed session from the crowd. We'll now recess for our closed sessions authorized by Chapter 551. It should be a frequent. And any accidents result by closed session.